We've all met someone who hides their pain behind a quiet smile. They sit in rooms filled with laughter, pretending not to hear the whispers, because staying invisible is safer than being seen. At Westbrook High, invisibility was the new girl's only armor. She moved through the halls like a shadow, careful, silent, and small. But bruises have a way of telling stories, even when you try to hide them. And when Jason Statham saw her that afternoon in the cafeteria, he didn't just see a shy student. He saw a silent cry for help. Because some people look away, and others stand up and stop the silence. Before we continue, thank you for watching and supporting these stories. They aren't just about Jason Statham or the moments that make people stop and stare. They're about kindness, courage, and the small acts that remind us what it means to be human. So if you believe the quiet ones deserve to be heard, make sure to subscribe and stay with us, because this story will stay with you long after it ends. The first week of school always felt the same: too loud, too bright, too full of people trying too hard to belong. Laughter bounced off the cafeteria walls like it had nowhere else to go, and the smell of reheated pizza lingered in the air. But for Lena, the new girl, it all felt like another kind of noise, the kind that made her wish she could disappear. She transferred mid-year, the quiet kid who showed up with second-hand clothes and a backpack that looked older than she was. No one knew where she came from, and no one cared enough to ask. At 14, she already knew how to survive invisibility, eyes down, voice low, footsteps soft. But the bruises made it harder to stay unnoticed. They weren't the kind that came from clumsiness. One faint mark along her jaw, another fading yellow near her wrist, the kind that told stories she'd never speak aloud. When teachers asked, she smiled. When classmates stared, she shrugged. And when she ate alone, she pretended the food was enough to fill her silence. That day, the cafeteria buzzed louder than usual. It was Friday, payday for the staff, half-day for the seniors, and chaos for everyone else. Lena sat in the corner with her tray, counting the seconds until she could leave unnoticed. Her lunch, a few fries and a bruised apple, barely touched. She didn't notice the group of girls at the next table watching her. They were the kind that owned the room: loud laughter, perfect hair, and the cruel confidence of people who'd never been hurt enough to understand gentleness. At the center of them sat Tara, the principal's daughter, sharp-tongued, smiling without warmth, the kind of teenager who knew her father's power protected her every word. Tara leaned in toward her friends, whispering, "She's so weird, doesn't talk to anyone, probably thinks she's better than us." One of them laughed, "Or maybe she's just scared you'll ruin her little charity case act." Lena heard them, every word. She learned how to ignore cruelty, but some words still burned. She kept her head down, pretending to read the paper straw wrapper on her tray. Tara wasn't satisfied. "Watch this," she said, pushing her chair back. The scrape echoed through the room. Her friends giggled, already sensing the show about to start. Tara walked over, her sneakers tapping in rhythm. "Hey, new girl," she said, leaning on Lena's table. "You know it's rude not to say hi." Lena looked up, startled. Sorry." Tara smirked. "Sorry, that's all. You think sitting here like a ghost makes you better than us." "No," Lena said quietly. "I just like it quiet." The table behind them laughed. Tara tilted her head. "Quiet? You're in a cafeteria, sweetheart. If you wanted quiet, maybe stay home." Lena didn't reply. That only made Tara bolder. "Oh wait, can't, right? Heard your dad's in trouble again. Guess silence runs in the family." That one hit too deep. Lena froze. Her fork slipped, clattering against the tray. A few heads turned. Some students looked uneasy, most didn't move. It was a moment that could have ended there, just another cruel exchange in a room full of noise. But cruelty has a way of growing when nobody cuts it down. Tara reached out and flicked Lena's apple off the table. It hit the floor and rolled beneath another table. The laughter that followed was short, sharp, and familiar, the sound of power unchecked. "Oops," Tara said sweetly. "Clumsy you." Lena's face flushed red. She bent to pick it up, her hands trembling. But before she could reach the apple, a voice broke the noise. "Pick it up yourself." The words weren't loud, but they cut clean through the laughter. The cafeteria stilled for a heartbeat. Lena turned, confused. The voice came from the staff table near the back, where a few guests were seated for the school's community lunch program. and among them, sitting quietly with a cup of tea, was Jason Statham. He wasn't dressed like a celebrity. No tailored suit, no entourage, just a plain black jacket, sleeves rolled, calm eyes that saw too much. He'd come to speak with the school's safety board later that day, but for now he was just there observing, quietly sipping his tea. And yet in that moment, the entire room belonged to him. Tara froze, trying to laugh it off. "It's no big deal," she said, her voice suddenly smaller. "We were just—" "Just what?" Jason asked, standing. His tone wasn't angry, it was steady, even, but it carried something far heavier than volume. "Teaching her a lesson." No one spoke. Even the teachers near the door stayed silent, unsure how to step in. Jason walked closer, each step unhurried. He didn't need to raise his voice, his silence did the talking. "You think kindness makes you weak," he said finally, his eyes on Tara. "You're wrong. It's what keeps people like you from breaking everything they touch." The cafeteria had gone so still that even the air seemed afraid to move. Jason picked up the apple from the floor, wiped it on his sleeve, and set it gently back on Lena's tray. "You don't owe anyone an apology," he said softly to her. Lena nodded, tears barely held back. "Thank you," she whispered. Jason turned back to Tara, who was now pale and trembling under the weight of every watching eye. "Apologize to her," he said. Tara hesitated. I didn't mean." He tilted his head. "Then it'll be easy to say sorry." She swallowed hard. "I'm sorry," she mumbled. Jason nodded once, louder. The word echoed like a command, not cruel, not theatrical, but certain. Tara's voice shook as she said it again. "I'm sorry." Jason's expression softened, not from victory but from principle. "Good. Now do better next time." He turned to leave, but before he did, he said quietly to the room, "No one becomes stronger by making someone smaller." For a moment no one breathed. Then, as Jason sat back down, the cafeteria came back to life, quieter, more aware. Tara slipped away, her friends suddenly distant. Lena sat there, stunned. For the first time since she arrived, she didn't feel invisible. She looked at the apple, still bruised but whole again, and smiled faintly. Later that afternoon, as the students filed out, Jason found her sitting under the old oak tree by the parking lot. She looked up as he approached. "Thank you," she said again. "You didn't have to." He smiled softly. "That's the thing about doing the right thing," he said. "You don't wait for permission." She hesitated. "Do people always listen to you?" Jason chuckled. "No, but they remember." And as he walked away, she realized something simple. Sometimes heroes don't wear uniforms or capes. Sometimes they just notice. That night, word spread across the school faster than any rumor ever had. The story changed in every retelling. Some said he yelled, others swore he threw someone out. But Lena knew the truth. He hadn't done anything dramatic. He'd simply stood up when no one else did. And somehow, that was enough to change everything. By Monday morning, the cafeteria felt different. The laughter still came, the trays still clattered, but something invisible had shifted, a kind of awareness, a quiet that trailed behind every word. Lena felt it first. When she walked in with her tray, no one stared. The usual whispers were gone. A few students even nodded at her, the kind of small, awkward gestures people give when they're not sure how to make up for silence. It wasn't acceptance yet, but it was something close to respect. She sat at her usual corner, the same spot near the window, sunlight cutting across the table. The apple on her tray this time was bright red, untouched, whole. From the teacher's table, Mr. Haldon, the science instructor, watched quietly. He'd been in the cafeteria that Friday, frozen like everyone else when Jason Statham spoke. Over the weekend, he'd replayed that moment again and again. The way Jason's calm broke through the noise, the way he never raised his voice, never humiliated anyone, but somehow made everyone see. It was a kind of strength Haldon hadn't seen in years of teaching, the kind that didn't need force to be felt. He approached Lena's table slowly, setting a carton of milk beside her tray. "Thought you might want this," he said, smiling gently. Lena blinked, surprised. "Oh, thank you." He nodded. "You're a tough one, aren't you?" She hesitated. "I just try not to make trouble." Haldon sighed. "Sometimes not making trouble lets the wrong people feel comfortable." He paused, lowering his voice. What he said about kindness not being weakness, that's something I wish more of us remembered. Lena didn't reply, but she smiled, a real one this time. Across the room, Tara sat surrounded by her usual group, but the laughter was gone. She kept her head low, pushing her food around with her fork. Her friends talked, but not to her. She could feel the distance, the quiet judgment, the looks that said you took it too far. Her father, the principal, had found out, of course. Jason's presence had turned what would have been ignored into a headline. There were meetings, apologies, discussions about school image and code of conduct. But the real punishment wasn't detention. It was being seen, for the first time, as the villain in a story everyone remembered. That afternoon, Tara waited outside her father's office. Through the glass, she could see him speaking with Jason Statham. Jason had returned to the school, not for show or publicity. He'd kept his promise to finish that safety talk with the staff. But what he said that day wasn't about drills or discipline. It was about people. "Kids, watch how we treat silence," he said calmly to the small room of teachers and administrators. "They learn whether silence means safety or surrender, and when they see us look away, they learn that cruelty is allowed." No one interrupted. He wasn't lecturing, he was reminding them. "I've been on sets," he continued, "in rooms where everyone acts brave until something real happens. You can fake confidence. You can't fake compassion." When the session ended, he stepped into the hallway and found Tara standing there, clutching her backpack straps like a child again. "Mr. Statham," she said quietly. He turned, his expression calm, patient. "Yeah." Her voice was small. I wanted to say I'm sorry, not because you told me to, because I meant it." Jason studied her for a moment, not with anger, but with the kind of look that makes people tell the truth. "Do you know why it hurt her so much?" Tara swallowed. "Because I made her feel small." He nodded. "And why'd you do that?" Tears gathered at the corners of her eyes. "Because I thought if I hurt someone else, I'd stop feeling like the weak one." Jason's gaze softened. "That's the oldest mistake in the book, thinking cruelty will protect you." He paused, then added, "You can start over, you know. It's not about guilt. It's about change." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Do you think she'll forgive me?" Jason gave a small smile. "Maybe not today, but you can earn it tomorrow." Later that week, Tara found herself standing outside the library, holding something small in her hands, an apple. She spotted Lena sitting alone at a table, sketching quietly. For a long moment, Tara hesitated. Then she walked over and set the apple down. Lena looked up, startled. Tara didn't say anything, she just nodded once awkwardly and walked away. It wasn't much, but sometimes the smallest gestures are the loudest apologies. That Friday, Jason returned once more, though not as a guest speaker. He came quietly, no cameras, no attention, just a visit. When he entered the cafeteria, a hush rippled across the room. Not from fear this time, but from respect. The students watched as he greeted a few teachers, nodded to the staff, then walked toward the corner where Lena sat. She smiled as he approached. "You came back," she said softly. He shrugged lightly. "You didn't think I'd skip lunch, did you?" She laughed, a sound that felt new, light. They sat for a moment in easy silence. Jason noticed the apple on her tray, red, shiny, untouched. "Good choice," he said. Lena grinned. "It's my favorite now." Jason leaned back, watching the room. "Looks like things are better." Lena nodded. "People are different, not everyone, but it's quieter now." "That's how change starts," he said, quietly. She hesitated, then asked, "Can I ask something?" "Of course." "Why did you help me? You didn't even know me." Jason took a slow breath. "Because I've seen too many people look away, and I promised myself a long time ago that I wouldn't be one of them." He looked at her, his eyes kind but steady. "You don't owe anyone your silence, Lena. Not the people who hurt you, not the ones who pretended not to see." She nodded, her throat tight. As they spoke, Mr. Halden approached with a camera crew. A local paper had heard about the incident and wanted a photo for a community kindness piece. Jason waved it off. "No photos," he said gently. "Some stories don't need faces, they need lessons." Halden smiled, understanding immediately. "Then maybe just your words." Jason thought for a moment. "All right," he said. Write this: kindness is free, but silence costs more than you'll ever realize. That quote would appear in the paper 2 days later, beneath a small photo of the school sign. No names, no headlines, just the message. And somehow, it reached further than anyone expected. Months passed. Lena grew more confident, joining art club, finding friends who saw her for who she was. Tara volunteered at the same club, quietly helping with stage props, never bringing up the past but showing change through action. Every Friday, Lena brought an extra apple to lunch, one for herself, one for whoever needed it. She never forgot that day, the noise, the laughter, the silence that followed. But most of all, she remembered the way Jason Statham stood, not with fury, but with quiet conviction. Sometimes she replayed his words in her mind when life got heavy. You don't wait for permission to do what's right. Years later, that memory would shape her life more than she could imagine. It was a gray morning in London when Jason received a letter at his office, no return address, just his name written in careful handwriting. Inside, a single folded note and a small photo. The photo showed a young woman standing beside a painting in a gallery. The caption beneath read, "Lena M., winner of the Hope in Silence Art Grant." The note was simple. "You once told me kindness wasn't weakness. I believed you. Thank you for noticing me when no one else did." Jason read it twice, a small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. He placed the photo on his desk beside a chipped red apple he kept there as a reminder from that day at the school. He didn't tell anyone about the letter. Some moments, he believed, were meant to stay between hearts that understood each other. As the afternoon light hit the photo, Jason whispered quietly to himself, "That's the thing about kindness, it always comes back." And somewhere in another school, another cafeteria, another moment of silence waiting to be broken, maybe someone else would stand up because of a story they'd heard once about a man who did the same.